This is a how-to video for students to help you know how to solve percent problems, and we're going to focus on how we can solve percent problems using a tape diagram. Tape diagrams are also helpful strategies if you're solving ratio or rate problems, but they also help us to visualize percentages as being that one whole is 100%. So here's an example problem. Layla is reading a 250-page book for school. Her teacher told her that she needs to read 35% of the book over winter break. How many pages does Layla need to read? So as I reread this problem, I'm noticing that there are 250 pages in the book, and since that's my total, I know that my 100%, or what's on the far right of my tape diagram, is going to be represented by 250. I can also add in, just to kind of visualize, that 0% is worth 0. Since her teacher told her that she needs to read 35% of the book, that's my goal percentage. I'm going to start by adding in some benchmarks that might help me to get there. My favorite benchmarks are 50%, 10%. Okay. And so since my goal is 35%, we'll put that somewhere about in here. May not be the perfect exact placement, but it's pretty close. And it lets me know that my focus is going to be down here in this bottom half for the math. Well, first of all, I can get 50% quite easily. I know that 50% is half of a number. So I'm going to write that 50% has a value of 125. I also know that 10% is a helpful benchmark. 10% of 250 would just be dividing that by 10, which leaves me with 25. Since my goal is 35%, I know that 30% will be a helpful value to discover. 30% is 3 10%. So in this case, 30% is going to be represented by 75. But my goal is 35%, so I need 5 more, or 5% more. Knowing that 5% is half of 10%, I'm going to add in 5% and identify that 5% has a value of 12.5. In order to get 35%, what I need to do is take 75, which is 30%, and 12.5, which represents 5%, to get my answer that 35% is represented by 87.5 pages, which seems a little silly if we think about the meaning of this, because if she needs to read 35% of her book, she probably can't read half a page. So if I was Layla, I'd play on the safe side and I'd probably read the full 88 pages. Another example. The auditorium at Merrill Middle School currently has 312 students in it. This represents 60% of the total number of students. How many students are enrolled at Merrill? What I read is that 312 does not represent my total. My total, being 100%, is an unknown value. What I've been told is that 312 represents 60%. 312 students represent 60%. So just again, to kind of support my placement, I'm going to add in a 50%. A line a little bit above it, there's where I will put 60%. And what I know about 60% is that it is 312 students. In this case, I have 60% and my goal is to get to 100%. Because I was given 60%, and that is a number that is easily divisible by 6 to get to 10%, I'm going to start by doing 60% divided by 6, which gets me 10%. 312 divided by 6 tells me 52. 52 students represent 10% of my school population. 10% times 10 gets to 100%. 52 times 10% tells me there are 520 students total in the school. To summarize, you want to read the problem and identify the information, the numbers that you are given. You want to label those numbers onto that tape diagram, and then you want to use benchmark percent values, such as 10% or 50%, so you can build up those numbers to get to your goal answer.